When you were a kid, did you have dreams of being a rock star? If so, what were you willing to do to make all your dreams come true? Did you plan on practicing endlessly to become the best you could be? Would you take every gig that came your way, to pay your dues until you truly made the big times? Or would you try to take it a shortcut? Would you be willing to sacrifice the life of innocent teenage girls to some dark lord? I know. It sounds like the plot of some B movie. But unfortunately, this story is all too real. So, sit back, my fine law-abiding citizens, as we explore the tragic case of Elyse Pahler. This is Night Owl. Good day, my fine law-abiding citizens. I'm Ted, your host, and welcome back to Night Owl. Today we're going to be delving into a case that sounds like it got ripped right from some horror movie, such as Jennifer's Body. But before we get into that, please remember to hit like and subscribe and to share this video. It really does help our channel out. And you may want to turn on your notifications as well, so you'll be kept informed of any new content we come out with. Now, with that out of the way, today's case is about Elyse Pahler. Was a creative and curious young lady and had a bit of a dramatic flair. She enjoyed designing and sewing her own dresses. She went to a high school named Arroyo Grande High School, where she met 3 new classmates: Royce Casey, Jacob Delashmut, and Joseph Forella. Now, these 3 boys, they absolutely loved the rock group Slayer, and they want to be just like their idols, so they even started their own, what's termed a death metal band, named Hatred. Now, Joe, to call him a fan of the musical group Slayer would be a gross understatement. He was absolutely obsessed. I mean, he even studied the group's lyrics, thinking that they held some kind of incredibly deep meaning. And he later claimed that it was guiding how he should live his life. And at one point, he asked his 2 buddies if they'd be interested in sacrificing a virgin. And the one that he selected was Elyse. For some odd reason, Joe was absolutely obsessed with Elyse, and he was also obsessed with ending Elyse's life. Then on July 22nd, 1995, the 3 boys lured younger Elyse to a place called Nippable Mesa Eucalyptus Grove. They promised her a chance for the 4 of them to be smoking some of the devil's cabbage, if you know what I mean. Shortly after they all arrived there, Jacob took off his belt and wrapped it around Elyse's neck and started to squeeze. But that wasn't doing the trick, so Joe took out a hunting knife and tried to use it on her neck. Jacob and Royce each took turns with the knife and even stomped on her. But none of these wounds were fatal, so Elyse slowly bled to death. Once the three boys were positive that she had passed away, Jacob started to remove her pants. You see, they had actually talked about SAing Elyse after she passed. Oh, good Lord. But anyway, it was actually Royce that spoke up and said, no, maybe we should just bury her and, just go home. So that's what they did. They wound up burying her in a shallow grave and left the area. Now, when it comes to the police discovering what happened, they actually didn't have to do much because there wasn't any kind of investigation skills that uncovered the truth behind Elyse's, at the time, disappearance. No, it actually came from Royce Casey himself. You see, he was having some problems with what they did. You should. So he confessed his part in what they did to Elyse to a priest. Now, the priest, he felt obligated to notify the police. And because of that, the police were able to find Elyse's partially mummified remains. All three boys were taken into custody and was charged with 7 counts, which include, well, of course, murder, conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit SA, as well as kidnapping. Now, the cops originally wanted to add torture and SA to the charges, but officials were actually unable to tell if any kind of SA actually occurred. The court documents described what happened to Elyse as, and I quote, the most brutal and horrific murders in the history of San Luis Obispo County. And you know what? I think you'll be hard-pressed to find a more brutal ending to someone's life than what this poor kid went through. In the end, all 3 boys were convicted and sentenced to 25 to 26 years. At the trial, the district attorney officer's chief investigator, a guy named Doug Autumn, said that the 3 teenagers had picked Elyse because, well, she had blue eyes, blonde hair, and oh yeah, because she was a virgin. And they thought she'd make a perfect sacrifice to the devil. He went on to say that when he interviewed Royce, he asked him why they did it. I mean, I'm sure that's the question on everyone's lips. He said that they wanted to make the perfect sacrifice to the devil so that they gain more craziness or nuts, as he put it, that would make them play harder and play faster. And by making this perfect sacrifice to the devil, it might even help them go quote unquote professional. They are a whole bag of crazy. In the end, their plan, of course, didn't work. All they got was a very long prison sentence, and that's what they deserved. Now, that's not exactly where our story ends. You see, David and Lisa and Paulo, that would be Elyse's parents, actually sued the musical group Slayer, saying that their songs, in particular, their songs Postmortem and Dead Skin Mask, almost acted like a roadmap showing these three boys how to commit the crime. Crimes that took away their daughter Elyse. Now, they originally filed a lawsuit in 1996, but it was delayed until about 2000 because of the boys' trial being concluded. And initially, the judge actually threw the case out. He stated his reason for throwing it out as, and I quote, "There's no legal position that could be taken that would make Slayer responsible for the girl's death. Where do you draw the line? You might as well start looking through the library at every book on the shelf." And you know what? The judge isn't wrong. I mean, to me, blaming things like music or movies or video games always seems to me to come off as easy answers. But you know what? What do you think? Go ahead, tell me down in the comments. I'm interested to know what everyone's opinion is on the subject. Now, this first case really didn't stop Elyse's parents. They actually launched a second lawsuit against Slayer. In that one, they claimed that they knowingly distributed harmful material to minors. And as you can imagine, this case was also thrown out. Judge E. Jeffrey Book had said, and I quote, "I do not consider Slayer's music obscene, indecent, or harmful to minors." Now, Jacob, he actually gave an interview to the Washington Post. In this interview, he said that the music is destructive, but that's not why Elyse was murdered. She was murdered because Joe was obsessed with her, and he was obsessed with killing her. Which means to me, Elyse's fate was pretty much already sealed the instant she met Joe. I mean, don't know why he was obsessed with her, especially, with ending her life. But the fact remains, her ending would have been the same, even if Slayer didn't exist at all. Now, you may be asking yourself, where are they now? Well, Jacob has been released from jail as of July 2025. And about a month later, Royce was then released from jail. Both of them served out their entire sentence. The only one that's still in jail is Joe. And as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly where it needs to be. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, I think that's where all three of them should be. Elyse was a sweet and smart kid who was so creative, she could have gone on to be the next big thing in fashion design. But her dreams were stolen by three guys that had their own dreams. They thought that the only way to achieve their dreams was through the sacrifice of an innocent. But what did they get for their misdeeds? There was no cheering crowds, no fanfare. There was only iron bars and bed checks, which means they got what they truly deserved. But what do you think? Do you think justice was indeed served in this case? What do you think when it comes to the controversy? Do you agree that rock and roll, movies, video games have too much of a hold on our kids and make them do things that we, when we were kids, didn't even think of? Or do you think the reason's something different? Do you think the reason stems from their home life? Or what they learn in school? Please, tell me what you think. For now, thank you for stopping by. But before you go, if you haven't already, can you please hit like, subscribe, and share this video? Because I'm not kidding, it really does help my channel out. And you may want to turn on your notifications so you'll be informed of any new content we come out with. Once again, thank you for coming by. And remember, be you good or be you wicked, everyone deserves justice. Good night.